New Year's is right around the corner, and for most people, that means it's already too late. If you're only now thinking about your tax season, you've already missed your shot for your 2025 return. Right now is the perfect time to start planning for 2026. The earlier you prepare, the more you save, and the less control the IRS has over your money. If you're not planning ahead, you're handing over money that you didn't need to lose. Join the Maverick Entrepreneur community. Like, subscribe. I don't want you to miss the next podcast. Recently, being a pastor and being in the business world, I've had my heart a little bit broken because I've been navigating some families through some tough decisions. A family member, that was lost, a husband that had passed away unexpectedly. I've had this happen throughout the years, but these are getting a little too close to home, especially when they go to your church. But to have a husband pass away recently, another family I knew, their husband passed away, was killed in a motorcycle accident. And the families that I'm dealing with now are left with absolutely nothing. And that's because of a lack in preparation. And when I mean preparation is both of my friends, one gentleman that I was close to, he was a patient at my office, passed away. He was killed in a motorcycle accident. Two young boys, beautiful bride. They were successful. They owned a home. But guess what? He didn't have his trust set up. A lot of things in the state of California got stuck in probate. And the family was crushed due to just not being prepared. I also have been recently seeing young entrepreneurs that have been grinding and crushing it. And this is the first year that actually they're making money. And then they didn't prepare for a massive $50,000 tax bill, which just now wiped all their wealth. They didn't know how to prepare themselves for taxes. They didn't set themselves up right. They had they were going to H&R Block, and no disrespect to H&R Block, but they're just handing over their stuff that goes in a cookie cutter, and there was no tax preparation. There was no ability to scale, and everything they made, they were making money, so they were spending money. Bought themselves a new Porsche, but yet all of a sudden, when $50,000 just hit them, they didn't know where to get the money, and so now they're already going to be paying. They were paying taxes in 2024, all of 2025. Their first 2 quarters of 2025 were eaten up by the tax bill that they owned last year. This little, podcast is just to question, are you ready? Are you ready for what success looks like? Coaching hundreds of people and helping them accumulate and to accelerate their wealth is exciting, but not when they don't prepare for what responsibility looks like. On if you have kids, you need to have a will, you need to have a trust. If you're married, you own assets. If you own a house, you need to have a trust, you need to have a will. You need to know that accidents can happen. And if you don't prepare, then guess what? You're not setting your family up for success. And I could just, besides me, I learned early on that, I'm not going to live this safe life. My family plays full throttle. We do a lot of boating and skiing and fly around the world. We love that stuff. But I do have 3 kids that I have to, if something happened to me, is my wife going to be okay? Have I set her up for success? Do I have a life insurance policy that covers the lifestyle that we live? Do I have a CPA that I'm meeting with at least 4 times a year? Strategizing. Since I've been in business, since 2000, I've been in business since 2001, but in 2006 is when I leveled up and I realized I had 2 back-to-back bills. I started making very good money, and I got my first tax bill, and I owed, $12,500. And I was like, whoa. And so I did not know how to wrap my head around because I never saved for it. I'm like, dang, thank God that's not a lot. But then the next year, my CPA said, don't worry about it. And I learned a tough lesson. And that lesson was that by the time that next year came around, I had a $50,000 tax bill. And I went to my CPA and I said, what the heck, man? And then one of my business coaches said to me, if he's willing to look at your private stuff. So a lot of people have a funny thing about money. They're insecure about their money or how much they make, or sometimes they are bravado and they put out there that they're making a lot of money. But if you let someone under the table or behind the screen, what are they really going to find? You got to get past your ego. You got to get past letting people help you. And that's part of my stuff is like, man, okay. He made a comment to me, and it's not meant to be disrespectful, but he said, if he's willing to look up your skirt, you got to be willing to look up his. I was like, oh. And he meant that as a idea that it's the most intimate parts of your life is money and your bank account and your taxes. And I never questioned my CPA. Thought he was a great CPA. He sounded smart. But the minute I went to him and I said, let me see your taxes. Let me look at your stuff, because if you can't manage your stuff, and then I'll never forget, he got so uncomfortable. He said, no, you don't need to do that. And I said, no, I want to look at it. If you're going to manage my wealth, I need to see what your wealth, how are you taking care of yours? He comes to find out, he said, made up all these excuses. Well, he was filing bankruptcy because he didn't manage his assets well. How am I supposed to let someone run my finances that can't even run their own? They don't understand their own. How are they going to understand mine? I immediately fired him. I vetted out through very successful people. I found my CPA. I gave him my last 2-year tax returns that year. Not only did my $12,500 go away, I got a massive tax credit. That was the first year. That second year, that $50,000 tax bill, he completely wiped it out. And I realized in that moment, I went from a negative, 62,000, almost 63,000 deficit to a positive cash flow because of one man, one CPA changed my entire life. I then at that moment became a student of the game in 2006, and I've dedicated, at least like it's a part-time job, financial success when it comes around money, how much money you can keep, wills, trusts. I've interviewed hundreds of CPAs, hundreds of bookkeepers. I think mine are the best in the world. There's other great ones out there that I've interviewed that I've had to find entrepreneurs around the country, better CPAs. And listen, they're hard to find. Not every CPA is created equal. Just like every chiropractor is not created equal. Just like every business person isn't created equal. Guess what? Find the student of the game and you find your wealth is so important. It should be a part-time job. Every week, I'm going through what my future holds. So I decided I'll be teaching a course in January 2026. And I'm bringing in my CPA, my financial advisor, my life insurance broker. I am bringing in my bookkeeper. I'm bringing in my wealth advisor. I'm bringing in every person that has spoken into my life to help these people, this seminar called Legacy, figure it out. I only could have 50 families there. And when I say families, I meant couples. And so I'm going to have to cap it out because it's going to be very intimate. But here's the deal. If you're watching this is what my companies look like. This is my report that I get every quarter, my financial Q1, Q2, Q3. Before this, my final review. All these tabs are my different companies, and I'm able to go through it, make notes, sit back down, and go through what I want to change. I just did this last week, and I'm going to tell you, if you're not structured this way and you have more than one company, you are getting yourself behind the 8 ball. This right here, I have my corporations. I have about 8 of these. I have my insurance policies all together, and I have my trust and my will. And on top of my trust and my will, I have a 55-page document on the philosophy of what that looks like, just in case something happens to me. Someone will be able to step in and read my financial policies and my financial philosophy on how my kids will be raised. I'm teaching my kids. I have a whole chapter in there just for my kids to read, giving them assignments for each one of them. You got to know that California doesn't care. They will take your money. They want your money. They will get it locked up in probate. Your family will have nothing. So I needed to cut this mini little podcast to get you to wake up, to take your taxes serious, your finances serious. Your tax should be sitting down with your spouse 4 times a year. If you're single, at least getting together with the mastermind of other young adults and looking at your taxes together and find out who has the best strategies, who has the best write-offs, play the game. Otherwise, California and the federal government get your money. How much money you make isn't important to me anymore. How much money you keep is the key. So listen, this isn't meant to be a frustration. This is a shot over the bow. There are resources, there are plans, there are templates, there are people that can help you, but the right philosophies, the right people in the right positions can change your life, that you can accumulate wealth and be the entrepreneur, live the dreams and execute the dreams that you've had since you were a little kid. Don't give up on the dream. but surround yourself with giants so you can live the life you're called to live. At the end of the day, taxes aren't just a financial issue. It's a strategy that you need to learn how to play. And the people that win, they don't just react, they actually prepare. Doesn't matter if you're making 6 figures or 7 or 8, but the earlier you prepare, the more money you keep. If this shifted your thinking in any way, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things the Maverick Entrepreneur. And if you want to dive deeper into strategies like this, then click the link in the description and subscribe to the Maverick Entrepreneur podcast, where we talk about money, we talk about mindset, and how to play the long game like the top 1%.